Welcome to the first 40 with the Goon Squad. It's Ice Water and Puma taking over today. Black Thor has some other things to do, but we'll catch him next week. And it's 123 days until Rihanna's halftime show at the Super Bowl. So we're counting down every week we do the show because that's what we want to see in the Super Bowl in February. So we're going to count it down and we're going to hashtag Rihanna every time we do a show. Hopefully, please, Rihanna, come visit us. Come visit us. But anyway,
just respond. We just want you to respond. Just know that we're watching you, girl. We're excited. We know you're making a serious comeback, and we just cannot wait. We're your biggest fans. We just want you to do what you do and just be your beautiful self. So we thank you.
Just please. All right, let's go to college football. Man, we just talked a little bit about some of the teams in college football. Let me run down the top 10, and I'm going to get to some of the other teams that are notable that made it in the top 25. Illinois made it in the top 25 this week. So we have Georgia at number 1 taking over for Alabama. Alabama, in their kind of lackluster game last week, fell to number 3. Ohio State, I'm thinking about Ohio State. Ohio State moves one spot up. I think if Georgia doesn't do well in the next few weeks, Ohio State is primed to do it. I know you don't want to hear that. The Ohio State, I'm sorry, they copyrighted that. The Ohio State Buckeyes. You have Clemson at number 4. They're going to have a rough game against Florida State coming up Saturday. You have Alabama, who's going to have a tough time against Tennessee, even though I think Tennessee has a kind of a weak secondary. So if Alabama can get the passing game going, they can really kind of do some damage to Tennessee. Also, you have Michigan at number 5, Tennessee at number 6. Michigan is going up against Penn State this Saturday at 12 noon. You have USC at number 7. They dropped 1. Oklahoma State dropped 1 to number 8. Ole Miss is still holding steady at number 9. Penn State is holding steady at number 10. Then you have UCLA, who is coming up, moving 7 spots up. They're going against Oregon on the 22nd. TCU moves 4 spaces up at the 13th spot. Wake Forest moves up 1 at the 14th spot. You have North Carolina State, who moves down. You also have Mississippi State moving 7 spots up with Kansas State and Syracuse all moving up multiple spaces up there. Utah moved 9 spaces down. Cincinnati in the Nasty Natty, University of Cincinnati, the Bearcats move up 3 spots to 21. Texas is holding steady at 22. Kentucky moves 9 spots down to 22. Illinois moved 12 spots up to 24. And James Madison, who would have thunk it, moves up 5 spots to get the 25th position. But what are some of the things and some of the games that you're going to be excited to watch this coming week in college football?
Yeah, you mentioned before that the Penn State-Michigan game. I think that's going to be solid. We want to see what Michigan really has. Penn State on the road is going to be a tough sell. But Michigan struggled a little early with Maryland. We want to see what Penn State's made of. This is perfect for both teams because the loser, it can be major consequences.
Yes, sir.
If you're thinking about moving forward, trying to get into the playoffs or whatever, major consequences for the loser of that game. So interested to see that. Ironically, as you mentioned, Illinois is ranked now. So, I mean, really high ranked. They're up and they've proven themselves because they're undefeated, if I'm correct. But they play
lost 1 game.
Lost 1 game. Okay, 1 game. But they play a game Minnesota team. And this would be perfect for them to kind of get a little payback for showing people the way that they lost early. So I think they would love nothing more than to take down Illinois. I'm interested in that game. Another game would be interested is this could be for one of your teams. They need a lifeline. This might be their lifeline. Kentucky plays Mississippi State.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. They lost 2 games in a row. Kentucky has. So they're trying to get back to some respectability, if you will, down there. They had a lot of big expectations earlier in the season, so they would love to get back with that win. And probably one of the last games I'm really going to be looking at is Oklahoma State versus TCU. TCU showed you what they're capable of. They had that big win last week.
Yes.
So now to watch Oklahoma State, which despite losing their defensive coordinator to the Ohio State University, they still look real good. And they played. I watched them the other day. They're really feisty and fiery and playing with a chip on their shoulder. So I think that's going to be a good game.
Yeah, those are some of the games that you mentioned that I want to see, especially the Michigan Penn State game. I want to see what Florida State does with Clemson because Clemson doesn't seem to be the strong Clemson team of the past few years down in South Carolina. And even though Florida State maybe dropped the game and didn't look so tough in their last outing, I want to see whether or not they at Florida State in Tallahassee, whether they can step up. I'm also looking at the Ohio State Iowa game. Even though Iowa is having a shaky season, I want to see if Ohio State can really kind of put the hammer down and really kind of change the pollster's mind and who needs to be number one in this country. Because I know you don't want Ohio State to be at number one, but if you are, you are. Because Georgia at sometimes has looked shaky. Alabama has been looking shaky. This should be a tough game coming up against Tennessee at Tennessee. So we'll see if Alabama, like I said earlier, when we talked earlier, if Alabama can really get the passing game going because Tennessee is kind of weak in pass defense. If they don't really tighten that up, Alabama's going to run away with this game and run away with it in a hurry. But there are some other games that I know, and UCLA is going to play Oregon next weekend. That's a game that I want to see. But I wanted to ask you a question in college football with LSU. Do you think LSU is having a little bit of buyer's remorse because LSU dropped 2 this year? I believe they lost to Tennessee last week. Do you think they got a little buyer's remorse with Brian Kelly?
Um, it's the first year, and I'm going to say no. Uh, if you're expecting a miracle after the first year, I mean, what are you talking about? Really? I mean, you remember Coach O over there, you had to wait even for a year for Joe Burrow to get really acclimated to their system. And the second year is when everything went off on them. So I'm gonna give Mr. Kelly, even though I've been very hard on him in the past. It's the first year. Everybody's getting acclimated. He really doesn't even have his first class down there. I know this sounds like a bunch of excuses, but I don't know too many coaches that can just come in and automatically just make teams into playoff teams that are not playoff teams. So I'm going to give him a little pass on the first year, and the second year maybe. Which I mean, it's a lot going on. So no, I don't think it's buyer's remorse because it's only the first year.
Yeah, and I think they needed to get out of the situation with Coach O because there was a story that came out last week after we got off the air of Coach O and some of the indiscretions that were happening at LSU. That stories are going to be coming out, so he was trying to get out of there really quickly because some of these guys like to put their hand in a cookie jar and a cookie jar that's not theirs. So they had to do something real quick. It may not be buyer's remorse right now, but they pretty much have the same record as the last team he left, Notre Dame, who the coach is really kind of fighting to stay afloat at Notre Dame. A win over BYU last week. I thought BYU could get him, but they didn't. So good for him. So we will look forward to watching the games this weekend. Roughing the passer kind of situation has really kind of really bothered me. They just put in where they are going to be doing I guess, looking at the replay to decide if it's roughing the passer. But Tom Brady, that particular play may have cost the Atlanta Falcons the game. And then on the Monday Night Football game against Carr, where I don't know what you expect a 300-pound dude to do up in midair, not to land on somebody after he tackles him. And as Booger McFarland said, he got the triple. He got the triple crown. He got the sack, he got the fumble, and he got the turnover. And so, what do you expect these guys to do? You mentioned a couple of weeks ago on the show that in the Pro Bowl they're going to be doing flag football. It's starting to turn that way with NFL quarterbacks. My thing here, and I'll turn it over to you. Quarterbacks wear uniforms, and if teams can't protect their quarterbacks, then that's on them. So quarterbacks wear uniforms. They're as you're a defensive player, you are geared to go after the ball, go after the quarterback. And if teams can't protect their quarterback, oh well, that's part of the game. I understand that these are highly paid, specialized players or specialty players that play for teams, and the NFL wants their marquee players out there to make money. But teams need to be better about protecting quarterbacks, in my opinion. than having these rules that really kind of turn the games to favor one team over another with a bad roughing the passer call.
Yeah. What's really crazy to me is if you talk about roughing the passer is when you do something that is egregious, right? You just really you slam the guy down after the whistle was blown, the play's been moved. You purposely run and just pick him up and you hands to the face. You literally just do whatever. The problem I have with it is, as you mentioned, when a lineman or a guy gets a sack and he lays on him, and to the point where the man takes him down and he just puts his hand in the back to make sure he doesn't press on him, he has nowhere else to go. I mean, that's to a point where it's sad. And they got mad at Troy Aikman for talking about, take them dresses off. To that point where
I mean, that's the way a lot of folks are feeling. Like, you're out there with a helmet and equipment just like everybody else.
Yeah. And I get it. I mean, we know, but now it's to the point where it's too soft when you can't even tackle anybody. There are a number of players back in the day. I know we talk about this. I know people like, y'all so old. That's what y'all say, keep man saying back in the day. But there were times when quarterbacks literally got their heads taken off. I mean, it's a really easygoing thing. First, it started with Tom Brady. Now, you can't touch him. And then you started out with Carr. And it's just one of those things where you get to that point where you say to yourself, it's just getting ridiculous. And you just can't do anything. They first started with the secondary where you couldn't hit anybody. Now wide receivers can't be hit.
Yeah.
It's always something. You get a certain way you got to hit them. Can't hit them with the crown of the head, and you can't hit them with the shoulder, butt, or neck. And there's so many rules to make everything so beautiful and pretty to make them continue to score. But you still got to let a defender be a defender.
Yeah, Michael Wilbon said it. What I was exactly feeling at that point, watching Tom Brady get hit. Brothers can't touch Tom Brady. That's basically what he said. And you see it over and over and over again over the years. If you're a brother, you cannot touch Tom Brady. You're going to get that roughing the passer every time if it even looks like you're around Tom Brady. I've seen my dad text me and call me one day, I think a couple of weeks ago, when Tom Brady, somebody just tapped Tom Brady and he fell. I mean, it's gotten that bad where he just feels like he's in danger and he falls. So I understand why he's played so long, because if you can't touch him, you can play as long as you want to. Play to 50, Tom, because they're not going to let quarterbacks get touched, especially you. And like Michael Wilbon said, and I will say it again, and I will keep saying it till they prove me wrong. Brothers, you can't touch Tom Brady.
Well, I want to say this in light of what has happened, and I want to give Tom Brady a little kudos because they asked him about it, and he said it was like when the play in question was like an unwanted hug. So I mean, he understands what's going on. I mean, he's the person that's receiving the benefit of this, but at the same time, he knows it's still football. So he didn't come out like, I was really scared for my life. He just
said, Don't act like the police. Like, I was scared for my life.
Yeah, he took it on the chin and said, you know what? It was like an unwanted hug, like somebody was hugging you and he really didn't want them to hug you, and they did anyway. So it was like, yeah, I appreciate him saying that. But he like, look, probably saying the same thing about the Deflategate, right? It's what it was. So what you mad at me for?
Yeah, I don't throw the flags. That's basically what he said. I don't throw the flags.
I don't make the rules. I just play the game.
Yeah. So when he did that, I'm like, okay, I get you. So we'll see how it goes with the reviewing in the booth and whether or not it's roughing the passer or not. It's just really kind of not the football that this is, like you always say, it's not your daddy's football.
Right.
And so we're used to, quarterbacks, just toughing it out and just hanging in there, no matter how hard you hit them. But it's almost getting to a point where you really can't touch them. And I see some players who get this preferential treatment and other players who don't. And that's, if you're going to make the rule, make it for everybody, just not the special players that you want to market. So we talked about this last week, and I think all the people who were making comments on TikTok about our story about Draymond Green. And so Draymond Green is going to be not suspended. I guess he's going to be fined. They're bringing him back in the fold. And the stories keep coming out about what Jordan Poole said, things of this sort. I think the punishment is a little bit too light for Draymond Green, because it's not like Draymond Green is going to learn anything. It's like you give him punishment, suspensions, you take games from him, and he still comes back and he does something egregious. So I'm not sure what he's going to learn about this, but I sent you and Black a story on Twitter of Draymond Green's mother, who was justifying that Draymond Green didn't really do anything wrong. And I said, aha, here's where the problem lies. Your thoughts on Draymond Green and him coming back and all this other stuff in the aftermath of the punch?
Well, again, from the beginning, I started with the whole video thing. If you weren't able to see this, I think people have a different perspective. I'm not saying he's right about what he did, and I'm not saying that he's not wrong. But I will say that it started along with the video. But I also think, too, when you talk about the punishment, and I know he has a history of doing certain things, and that's understandable, too. But I will say this. The Golden State Warriors understand that they said earlier, even Steve Kerr mentioned this, that in the also general manager, they have a certain kind of culture that they built over like the last 7 years, right? So they built a certain kind of culture. And Draymond Green has been a major part of their culture, of them winning. From the standpoint of when he went and whatever happened with that situation with Kevin Durant and things like that. But they built a culture, and things do happen. I don't know what was said. I didn't read that far into it. To me, it doesn't really matter. It's what it happened. Whatever happened, happened. It still doesn't give you the reason to do what you did, and that's what it is. But at the same time, though, I say that the punishment, when you want to be out for 10 games, again, I bet you, I say this, and I don't know this, but I'm just guessing. I bet you that happens a lot more than what we know. And it's not reported because it's Golden State, because they are the defending champions, and because of the video. Now it's like everybody's going nuts, and then you got his mom involved with it too. And I'm like, first of all, the media, y'all killing me. You're killing me. I'm serious. I said this last week, and I'm gonna say it again. You talking about his mom? What's his mom? What else his mom gonna say? Oh, he was wrong as hell. No, that's his mother. What mother do you know talking about that boy ain't shit? He paying them bills too. He take care of mama. Just think about that. Why you going after his mother? You think his mother could be like, I don't know what the hell he was thinking. He lost his damn. Y'all crazy. That's crazy. It's his mother. What is his mother gonna be like? I don't. Boy, you ought to be shaming yourself. I don't know what you ain't gonna do. We not gonna accept you at the house come Christmas. Man, come on, man.
Well,
let me say this. Stay to what's real. Okay, talk about Draymond Green, talk about Golden State, talk about what's going on with the team, the light suspension. Yeah, okay, you thought it was whatever. Jordan Poole came up and said it's cool, whatever. And I think he realized too that even though you say whatever, how important Draymond Green is to that team. He really is. And I think at the end of the day, they're about winning. You can say he's a nut case or whatever, but they want to win games. And they know in order to win, if you replace him, you're not the same team. That I will tell you.
Yeah.
Now, does that excuse his behavior? I'm not saying that at all. But if you take him off that team, you're not going to get that fire. You're not going to find somebody else to give you what he does. That I can promise
you. Yeah. So I take the example of I remember when Shaq was talking about the fight he had with Charles Barkley, and his mother pulled him to the side and like, listen, you were in the wrong. So even though that's your baby and they're paying all this stuff, right is right, wrong is wrong. And so I would expect the mother to do that. I know my mother and my grandmother would do, listen, I know this is how you felt, but this was wrong. But it just seemed like the tone that she had and how she was kind of justifying it. It was like, wait a minute, this explains why he is the way he is. And no matter what he does, he's going to get backed up or co-signed by somebody in his fold. So that's the way I kind of looked at it when I looked at the tweet, that whatever he does, no matter if he's wrong or not, she's going to co-sign.
Can I say one thing about that though? You made a point, and here's how I see this. So the media takes this and they run with it. Did you ever hear Shaq's mom say anything? The only reason why we know that happened because Shaq said that his mother said that to him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we didn't hear his mother. His mother wasn't in the media. His mother's never been in the media.
Right.
But the media now, they look for stuff like this. So social media is a whole different world than it was back then. They look for things and they prey up on, well, his brother said this, and his brother, and you know, if his brother said it, then it must be true. It's the TMZ sports journalism of the world. It is crazy as hell to me. And so I get what you're saying, but I mean, first of all, it's his mom. I mean, you don't see Shaq's mom saying that at all. She don't comment. The only reason why I knew that because of Shaq. But I blame the media for picking this up. What do you think? What do you think she's gonna say? I'm just saying, Grant, you might say Shaq's mom might go, baby, I don't want you to do this, but she's not gonna verbally come out and go, oh boy, you messing up. Wait till I get you home and talk to you. She's not.
No, she's not.
His mother's not gonna do that in the media. He's not. That's my point there. Your mother, she might whoop your tail or tell you something crazy when you get home, but she's not going to embarrass you in the media. So, but for them to run with that like that, come on, man, y'all better than that. I hope. Y'all better than that.
One of the things that a TikTok user who commented under a post we put up on TikTok about the show, we put a snippet on the show, and I was saying during the little piece, the clip that we put on, is that maybe Golden State will go to somebody else after this year is up. And somebody made the suggestion, and I want to hear what you have to say about this. PJ Tucker, Draymond Green.
And what is that? What is
he's kind of like the same type of player?
No.
You don't think so? I thought it was a great idea.
I understand let me just say this. I understand when I see PJ Tucker, I think about he's fiery, right? He plays very physical, but he does not play what Draymond Green does. Draymond Green can score the ball when they need to. He grabs rebounds. He runs the point. He plays D. He has an energy where he literally takes over that team. Mm-hmm. I don't see that in PJ Tucker. When they played in the finals last year, for as much as Draymond Green struggled offensively, right? He struggled. Klay Thompson struggled. The one thing he did do, he played decent defense. He grabbed rebounds. Yeah. He pushed the ball, and he was a playmaker, putting guys in the right area. Right. I I understand the comparison, but PJ Tucker, as a guy, is not as important to a team as Draymond Green. Draymond Green is an integral part of Golden State because of the way he plays basketball. And I don't think you can, and PJ Tucker's a little smaller too, I think. You just can't insert him in there and plug him in to go. I mean, you could if you just need somebody to kind of at least fill in a little bit. But we talking about through the playoffs, the whole nine. Draymond Green is an integral part in the way that Golden State plays and when they win. Very integral. And that's the way they made their team up to include a person like him.
So last question on this. Does Golden State give Draymond Green a max contract?
No, I don't think so. I think they need to see what's going on the rest of this year. I think they need to weigh their options. One of the other reasons why I say no, and this incident it just gives them more leverage to say we're not doing that right now. But I think also overall, it gives them an excuse too to kind of say we can wait a little bit because now you kind of got out of the pocket. But now they want to see what James Wiseman does. James Wiseman's a hell of a talent. They want to see what he does.
18 points the other night, yeah.
So if you see a young guy like that going on and you get some other things going for some other young guys, then you can go, well, maybe we don't need to give Draymond Green a long-term contract. We give him a short-term contract, keep him around as a vet, kind of keep the guys going. But we spend that money somewhere else with maybe another type of player, younger player, or somebody that might be more useful in the next coming years. So I think that's why they don't give him a max contract. And that might mean he wants to leave. Yeah. And that's okay. But it doesn't tie them down to a player that's probably not in his prime anymore.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if they offer him a max contract at this particular point. And I think they'll move on with some of the younger lines at the Warriors. When I was watching the game on Monday night, Davante Adams was, I guess, really upset and pushed the cameraman. The cameraman contends that he has a concussion and other injuries. And I just thought this was so uncalled for. Me and Pop were talking about it earlier today. And Pop said, hey, when I saw him push the guy, I knew this was going to happen. Now the guy is pressing assault charges, which rightly so. I think he should do that. And people are talking about, oh, he's in it for the money. He's in it for the money. But, you know, you're there trying to work. And here you have, you know, this Adams who's upset about the game, didn't push any of the Kansas City defenders, didn't put Renfro out the way when they bumped into each other at the last play of the game, but gets mad and pushes somebody who has nothing to do with what happened on the football field and injures them. And he's going to pay for this. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, he's going to pay for it. I don't know about the guy just trying to get money. I think that I don't know how hurt he is. I do think anybody would in that situation because it's a millionaire too. They're going to,
yeah.
I'm just saying that's a normal thing to do because they felt like they were accosted or whatever. So anybody would probably do that. The one thing though I did notice, and it changed my opinion because first I was like, man, you were tripping. First of all, I do not excuse the behavior of Mr. Adams whatsoever. But I thought I saw something different. I had to go back and look. They showed a different angle. Because when I saw the cameraman come over and before he was pushed, I thought, and this is why I had to go back and look again, I thought he was running in front of him so he could take his picture. That's what I thought at first.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, man, and being a media guy, the guy just come out the field, he's mad. You in his face with this thing trying to get a shot, you stopping his, impeding his progress. Then I was like, you can't do that. And as a media guy, you should know better. There's ways to have angles. But then I went back and I saw it. All he was doing was he was trying to cross and get
out the way.
Side. Yes. Yeah. Then at that point, I was like, come on, man, you need to do that. Yeah. I'm not saying the other way was cool too, but you do sometimes when you're mad, you got a guy right there in your face and you're like, get. I've seen that, and I see guys getting elbow.
He didn't aim his camera at him at all. It looked like he was trying to.
Right. And, he's trying to get out the way, and he's just kind of see the guy. Some old photographer just shuffling, trying to get out the way. So I've been there, done that. I see that. So that changed my perspective. Mr. Adams did not need to do that because he was just mad and he pushed him down. So now you got to pay a fine. You got to pay whatever charges, whatever the money is. You got to pay some money in NFL because they're going to, again, try to do the right thing and protect the shield. Like, we don't allow guys to do that. They're probably going to suspend him or something.
I was watching Speak today with Joy and all the folks on that show today, and they were like, some of the former players were like, oh, they didn't need to put assault charges on them. If that happened on the street, that's exactly what happened. So what makes these football players or people who have money or people who are these athletes think that they're better than somebody off the street? If this happened to somebody off the street, they were pushed, it would be an assault charge. So I don't mind the assault charge being put there. Maybe it'll help him kind of see that, to think 2 or 3 times before he does this again. This also made me think, if he's doing this and taking this out on somebody he doesn't know, somewhere along the line, we may be hearing another story where he takes it out on somebody else. That's exactly where my mind went. Like, if he's doing this, this guy didn't cause you to have your team to have a 1-4 record at this particular point. And so how are you taking out your aggression on this? And so it's almost like, I hear this saying all the time now, play stupid games, get stupid prizes. So this was really stupid on his part, knowing that he's a millionaire and that people are just waiting for a chance to get into your pockets, and you fell for it. You're letting your emotions get the best of you. And so instead of going in the locker room and maybe beating up something in the locker room, you want to push on somebody else. And then he immediately said, I'm sorry, but the sorry is not enough in this situation. You embarrassed the man on national television. His livelihood, he's probably, if I was his attorney, if I would be an attorney, like, listen, go to this doctor, because we're going to get paid. Go to this doctor. Don't go to any other doctor. Don't go to work. I will call your employer, and we're going to milk this as much as possible, and we don't have to work for a long time. That's how it works. That's how it works when it comes to, there are a lot of different court cases on the dockets for suing folks for exactly like this. So don't go outside. Don't act like, you don't go cut the grass. Don't do any of that stuff. Stay out the public's eye. Don't say anything to the public. And we're going to let me handle this. And I'll get the reports from the doctor. Matter of fact, we're going to do a press conference and I'm going to sit next to you and I'm going to answer the questions. You're not going to answer any of the questions. We're going to get paid.
Yeah, I can see where you say that, but the only problem with that is a lot of these camera guys and these media type guys like that, I wouldn't say that the NFL is their livelihood, but they really enjoy what they do. They like being around the game. And if he does that with a press conference and all that stuff like that, I'm just telling you, I don't know anything. I just I cover NFL and college football for a long time. And then there's kind of ways that some people end up just disappearing from getting credentials and stuff. And if you want to get credentials, what I would do, I would go forward with the lawyer, as you said. I would have negotiation, let them know what we needed and what we wanted to do. And there's a way to settle things quietly, okay? Because the NFL don't need any more smoke. No. They don't want any more attention brought to they've already said they're going to handle it. Come up with a nice little sum, get your check. I wouldn't use my name. I mean, he already said he's going to do it, so his name is probably out there. But I would try to be quiet. And if they say he wants to meet with you, I would meet with him and whatever, shake his hand and whatever you want me to do, give me my money and just be cool. Because the one thing that a photographer, probably a guy like that, doesn't want to mess up what he's doing. He still wants to be able to go to the games. And when you bring attention to yourself, okay, everybody's hot and heavy about it right now, right? In 4 weeks, all of a sudden, he replaced at the games. Yeah. He can't shoot no more. Yeah. And see, that's stuff they don't talk about. I'm just telling you, I ain't saying that's how they work. I've seen some things. That's all I'm saying. I've seen people experience it. I've seen the experiences that I experienced. It never happened to me, but I've seen people, when you bring too much attention to something, again, it's like I said, you can't sue your boss. You can't sue your company and expect them to keep working.
That's true.
Because when you make too much noise, then if that's what you really want to do, you might have been doing it for how long? Granted, get your money, got the assault, all that. Okay, get that. But if you want to still stay working and still shooting the games, you want to tone that down, bro. You need a press conference for it. They're gonna give you the money. They're gonna give you the money anyway.
I'll ask for so much money. I wouldn't.
But you gonna do that? Why you can do that quietly?
Yeah.
Why you gotta be? See, that's the problem. The media again. Everybody want to be out in front. You gonna mess
up. That's why I said I would let the lawyer talk. I wouldn't even do anything.
But still, why is the lawyer having a press conference? There's no need for that. You can still get your money. You can get all the money you want, and you can still
$1 billion.
I don't know about all that. I mean, the other part too, if their thinking is, oh, you gotta pay for my camera equipment too. Because I think
camera equipment, my hospital bills.
Yeah, I think my camera equipment. And see, here's the thing. I don't know if the player play it, but I'll say this. The NFL has a surplus of money, bro. Mm-hmm. If you don't know that, something wrong with you. Yeah. If they need some money, they can find some money. So money is no issue. You're not going to get no $1 million, but you might get some thousands or something in hospital bills paid, whatever you need, pain and suffering. You might need some counseling from a psychiatrist, whatever you need to do. They will cover that. But the one thing they don't want is more smoke.
Right.
So they can do this under a quiet little thing. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's Tommy Richards. Tommy Richards, don't say nothing to him, leave him alone. Don't get too close to him or whatever. But Tommy, if you want to keep working or whatever your gentleman's name is, bruh, listen to a vet, been around that game a long time. Just be cool, get your money, settle it, and go on about your business. If you want to stay, if you don't care and you want to be on TikTok and YouTube for about a week and then nobody else gonna remember your damn name, I'm just saying, just be cool. Don't get caught up. I'm telling you, you can still keep your job, keep doing what you do, and get your money with brand new equipment. You can be whatever. Just stay away from when y'all play whoever you're working for. Just be cool.
Yeah. So we're going to save the other two stories with Alex Smith. I thought it was an interesting take on Riverboat Ron. was saying, "Hey, man, it's not the quarterback and the offense; it's the defense." We'll talk about that in the NFL picks. We're going to also talk about Coach Matt Rule, who was fired this week, and how that will affect Carolina. But I want to get to Major League Baseball and the playoffs. And I was asking you earlier, did Judge hit a home run in the first game?
No.
So Black thinks I'm hating on Judge, but I've been seeing this for a number of years with the Yankees in the playoffs, where Carlos and Judge are not getting it done in the playoffs. And I know it's only one game, but it just seems very familiar. This is very familiar territory, being a Yankees fan, watching them go 0-4. And I was telling Pop earlier today, if the Yankees are going to do this, it's going to be the other players are going to just step up and do this. And so it doesn't matter what those two do at this particular point. But I'll let you give your report, and I'll try to chime in on other games that I've seen.
Oh, no doubt. Well, stay right there. Let's stay in the American League. Okay. So Cleveland in the wild card faced Tampa Bay. Cleveland won that series 2-0 over Tampa Bay and moved forward to play the Yankees. Seattle won, surprisingly, after 21 years out of the playoffs, defeated Toronto 2-0. And moving forward from that area, Houston came back in the first game to beat Seattle after I think it was a 3-1 homer. Came back late, beat them 8-7 in game one as we move forward in the series. The Yankees outlasted Cleveland despite Puma's favorite players not hitting home runs. They still won game one. So they do lead that series 1-0. And also Houston leads Seattle 1-0. Moving over to the National League, it was Philadelphia and St. Louis in the wild card portion. Philadelphia upset St. Louis. Philadelphia spending a lot of money in the offseason, and it finally paid off. And not only that, they moved forward in the next round, and they're facing Atlanta, and now they're up 1 game on Atlanta. Philadelphia, what are you doing? Philadelphia, okay. San Diego versus the Mets. San Diego outlasted the Mets. We talked about without Tatis being out for 80 games or what have you, and they beat the Mets. Mets had a lot of things going on, but San Diego beat the Mets 2-1 in that series. And again, San Diego is a team that finished 20 games out of first place behind the Dodgers. So imagine now they're facing the Dodgers in that next round, and the Dodgers beat them the first game. So it's Dodgers up 1-0. A lot of stuff going on there too from that standpoint, but I opened it up to you, some of the games, what you thought about some of the games that you watch. But it's hot and heavy. I like it. It's playoff baseball. Let's go.
Yeah, one of the things that I really liked is Tampa Bay and Toronto out of there because they give the Yankees fits. So once they were out, I'm like, okay, this may be a showdown between Houston and the Yankees. I'm not overlooking the Mariners though because they're hitting, but they let one slip away from them. I told you last week that the San Diego Mets matchup is a bad matchup for the Mets because they could not win the regular season series. They lost 4-2 in the regular season series. And it's just like I told Pop earlier that it's just like some teams just have the other team's number. And I just felt that San Diego had the Mets number. Totally was surprised about the Phillies beating St. Louis. I thought we would see Pujols going deep into the playoffs because this is last year. But Philly is there against the Braves, and it should be interesting. It would be really interesting if the Dodgers go up against the Braves after Freddie Freeman left the Atlanta Braves and went to Los Angeles. So everybody, to me, when I've been listening to radio, sports radio, and on television, they're kind of rolling with the Dodgers because they seem like the strongest team. But I don't know. These things can get really kind of tricky when you get deep into the postseason in October.
No doubt, and they can. So, and you think about what the Dodgers did, and of course, we always tease you about Dodgers spending the money and the Yankees spending their money. But it really comes down to teams getting hot. It really does. You saw what Atlanta did last year. When you came into it, you didn't think Atlanta was going to win the World Series. But the one thing they did do is in the second part of the season, they went out and got like 5 players, and 3 of those were pitchers, and they got hot at the right time, and they were fabulous down the stretch for Atlanta, and that's what allowed Atlanta to do what they did. So yeah, it was interesting. So when teams make solid moves, you just never know how it's gonna work out. But for them, it's dynamite. So now they're the defending champions, and who knows? I think it's gonna be great. I love this time of year because, truthfully, even though the Dodgers are being picked as the favorite, I think it's wide open.
I do too.
Because for as much as you talk about the Dodgers and whatnot, and you talk about how the Yankees, you saw a little chink in their armor. I see that with all these teams. So I think I think even the Astros are looking, they can do some things. Certain teams are just kind of, I think it'll be very interesting. I think a few teams can win the World Series. I don't see one clear-cut favorite go, ooh, because usually it comes down to pitching. And a couple teams have a few aces, and it depends on whether or not they're hot. That's how it's decided as to how their team goes.
I talked to Pop earlier and I asked him, I said, who do you see winning the World Series? And even though he's a Dodgers fan, he hates the Yankees. He said the Houston Astros, especially if Alvarez really kind of been playing the way he's been playing. He said the Houston Astros and Dusty Baker may pull off and get this World Series because they're playing the way he's looking at it. They're playing really well. He also mentioned that the Seattle Mariners, they're really hitting the ball a lot. I noticed that when we talked about it. And so don't sleep on them. I'm really loving the short series. Instead of just a 1-game eliminator, do the best 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5. Let's get this going. You don't need that many games to find out who is the better team. And so I'm really liking the shortened series. So I was told that the playoffs doesn't start until this round. These were teams that were playing, the Mets and San Diego, and those teams are playing to get into the playoffs, which I really like that format. How about you?
Yeah, I don't want to say that because the Mets have spent a lot of money and they have a lot of talent. But I understand about them saying they're going to start to this round. But if that was the case, the Mets should be in there, right? With all the money. So, no, I mean, you got to tip your hat to Philadelphia doing what they had to do. Cleveland moving forward. I mean, yeah. So I like that. I like the early stuff. So you can say that, but don't you think those other teams wanted to win?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a feat to come in there. So just to kind of poo-poo them and heaven forbid if one of those teams upsets one of the 3, right, with the Yankees, Astros, and Dodgers, if one of them upsets the underdogs, upsets them, then what are we saying?
Yeah.
I mean, what are we saying? So anything is possible. That's why I said I wouldn't get all excited talking about it starts now. No, it started back then for those teams. Because you mean the Philadelphia? I'm sure they really didn't think they did, but nobody else really thought Philadelphia was going to advance because they've been struggling all year.
Right. Questions from the squad.
Who is Swag?
That's the story I was trying to get to. Eddie Robinson III, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Because I was talking to Pop about this earlier, and there's a backstory to all of this. I remember when Deion first came into SWAC, Eddie Robinson's team beat them really badly, and then they put Deion's face on the screen and played "Must Be" the music, or "Must Be" Deion's hit and all that stuff. But they were showing clips of Deion walking in the stadium, and the players from the opposite team cussing out Deion and being very disrespectful. And I'm like, that has to come from the coach, because I can't remember a time, even though you did not like the rival team or another team or your opponent, that you are disrespectful to any of the coaches. Now the players are fine. So you're going to be disrespectful. You're going to get in your skirmishes. What I saw after Deion experienced that he told his team, he huddled them up and says, no talking. We're just going to play. No talking. And so with all that disrespect that Eddie Robinson's team and what he displayed, he also displayed that disrespect at the end of the game and getting his tail kicked. And so I think what it is this is what I thought about this a lot, is that Coach Deion Sanders, or Coach Prime, is really showing up to HBCUs because he's working. He's working getting recruits. He's working marketing. He's working and outworking all those coaches, and all those coaches that were in the SWAC or whatever league you want to put them in, HBCUs, have been sitting on their ass and not putting in the work that he's been putting in to create a great program there at Jackson State. And he's showing them up, and they don't like it. They have never got this much attention before. He's bringing a lot of attention, and some other NFL players who are coaching are bringing more attention, and these coaches don't like it. So he's kind of thinking that, okay, I played in this league. I've done some great things at HBCU, but here you're talking to a man who's done some great things, not only in Division I, but in the NFL, and is a Hall of Famer. So miss me with that. He ain't SWAC. He is SWAC. He is the league now. Y'all got to catch up.
Yeah. I tried to get as much information about this as possible because the whole Eddie Robinson Jr. thing is like saying to me, I'm like, okay, you got to realize the legacy, Eddie Robinson, right, Jr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got to realize that that's not you. That's not your legacy. You follow the legacy.
That's your daddy's legacy.
Yeah. So let's look at that for real, first of all, too. And I understood too that they were upset because I think the game or something to that effect, Deion was trying. They were deciding not to continue with them or something. There was other bad blood too. So I mean, you can be mad at that. But when you say he's not SWAC, and I watched some things about Deion Sanders, and one of the things that he said, which was on point, not only is he, as you mentioned, he's above a lot of guys and doing a lot of things that the coaches are not doing and just bringing more attention. But the one thing he's doing is he's going out and he's making it possible for the other SWAC coaches to get more money. He's making it possible for other SWAC players to benefit, not just his team, but other players are benefiting, right, because he's trying to improve the league. So when you say stuff like that, if he was just an ass, which he could be a very pompous ass if he wanted to, not trying to bring attention overall to SWAC and HBCUs, he's not doing that. He's Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, baseball player. Deion Sanders, a hell of a football player. Deion Sanders about the money and little rapper that he's whatever he's doing. He could be a total ass. He's not that way. He's trying to make people accountable to respect HBCUs, particularly the SWAC. So to act as if you don't have to hug him. You at least dap him up and walk on. That's all you got to do. And then you have to come back now and send an apology, give an apology and tell your players that's not how we're supposed to act. Okay, what? You was thinking something about yourself, Mr. Robinson? I mean, again, did your dad ever do that?
Nope.
Hell, your dad would remember. Your dad faced a lot more than what you're doing, held in the handbasket. He had to work through a lot of adversity to get Grambling up to the point where they were, to even be respected as probably one of the top all-time winning coaches. He had to do a lot of work for that. And for you to poo-poo it on it because you was in your feelings, because you were frustrated because do you think Deion Sanders is trying to be the guy or whatever? Come on, man. Can we all just get along and get together, particularly when he's working in the name of other HBCU coaches and other SWAC coaches? Let the man put the work in, figure it out. If you're mad or whatever, again, you're not your dad. And Deion's doing some good work. And I'm not saying you got to be happy and bow down to him, but come on, bro. You can put that energy somewhere else about making your team better. How about that?
Yeah, I truly think that negative energy came from him to his team. They invited Jackson State to their homecoming, and they got their ass whooped and handed to him. And he's pissed off about that because he's probably talking trash all week, does not like Jackson State. He put that energy in the players, and instead of the players concentrating on winning a football game, they wanted to talk, they wanted to trash talk, they wanted to disrespect everybody, and they got their ass handed to them. So Coach Robinson, the third, you got a lot of work to do. You got some catching up to do. Because I read a report, and I saw a report on TV. Deion Sanders, Coach Sanders has a player that he's recruited overseas who's a linebacker that the Division I folks are trying to get, and he's coming to Jackson State. He's working. So my question is, how come some of you coaches that were in the SWAC before Coach Sanders came in, how come you weren't doing this work and putting HBCUs on the map with coaching up your teams and getting and recruiting some of the best players? You know why? Because you felt like they weren't coming to your school anyway. And so you didn't even go after these players. Some of these players haven't even heard of you because you never went out to recruit them. Deion is. So y'all got catching up to do. So, you know, I thought it was in poor taste. It doesn't show sportsmanship. And I don't expect your team to be any good because you're not a good leader of men. If that's the way you're acting, and it's sad because your dad was a leader of men. And he laid the example for you to follow, and you just get caught up in your feelings. I don't feel sorry for him. I don't feel sorry for him. As a matter of fact, every time I see his team, I'm rooting against him because that showed no class, even though you don't like each other. And I learned that a long time ago. There was a coach named Coach Hunter, who used to play for the Atlanta Falcons. And there was one game, I think I told you the story a long time ago. There was one game where we were playing our arch rivals, and then three of us decided we weren't going to shake hands. So Coach Hunter saw us and said, after Monday's practice, you're going to do my practice. And so after Monday's practice, or during Monday's practice, we were trying to dog it because we knew we had to practice after practice. He's like, oh no, you're doing all the drills. You're doing more than enough on the drills. And we had bleachers in our stadium. And we ran bleachers. We did a whole nother practice. And while we were doing those bleachers and everything else, he's just talking to us about the importance of sportsmanship. And it's a privilege to play this game. It's a privilege. So you have rivals, you have all that, but it's a privilege to play this game. It's a privilege to coach. It's a privilege to be where you are. So what gives you the right to disrespect your opponent? When it's off the field, it's off the field. When it's on the field, you fight like hell. When it's off the field, you respect your opponent. Nobody got hurt. Everybody's fine. Everybody walks away, and everybody's good. Another question?
Yep. My question is, what are your thoughts on this? Just a food for thought. The mascot for the Denver Nuggets makes $625,000 a year. $625,000, yes. The highest paid WNBA player is $231,000 a year. That's 3 times more than the highest WNBA player. I'll leave you with that question.
My first question is, does anybody need a mascot? And the second question is, it's economics, it's supply and demand. It's as simple as that. It's economics. So they're being paid well because the market presents itself that way. So yeah, people aren't really paying and going to WNBA games. So the demand's not there. So it's simple. It's simple economics, supply and demand.
Wow, $625,000 for a mascot.
Yeah, I'll sign up. I'll wear a suit.
$231,000 for a top paid WNBA player. And the mascot doesn't play. The mascot's not even on the team that has won the championship, not even contending for a championship, but $625,000. And I'm not mad at the mascot because the mascot does a lot of stuff. He's out there, but is the mascot worth $625,000?
He's entertaining, and yeah, I mean, that's the supply and demand.
So basically, you could pay 3 of the top WNBA players with his salary.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, give or take 2.5, whatever. You do the math, but still, yeah.
Good. I mean, it's supply and demand. So they can argue it, but nobody's buying your product. They're buying the Denver Nuggets product. They want to be entertained. The mascot entertains. I remember the San Diego Chicken. I wonder how much he made because he was very entertaining.
He was getting paid a lot of money because people liked him.
And he was famous. So I knew him. If you asked me to name maybe 25 WNBA players, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, he was on the Gong Show and everything.
Everything. he made a lot of money. Everybody knew San Diego Chicken. I don't even know if they have that anymore, but he was just hilarious. There was one NFL Follies where I guess their team had lost like in the last second, and he's just staggering around and he just passes out because he can't believe it. And the announcer's like, "Look at the chicken. He can't believe it." Holding his head just like, I can't believe it. All right, last second shot, sir.
Yeah, he took all my stuff now. Last second shot. Okay. I did this, I think, a couple weeks ago, and I'm not gonna say I'm gonna do it every week, but the internet has made it possible where you can actually watch HBCU bands, right? So I think is the Hounds at Wilberforce University, their band. I forgot the name of it. Correct. I need to correct that name. I get it right. But my band of the week is Texas Southern University. Texas Southern University, I think they played Alabama State, and they had the top 5 band performances. My band of the week is Texas Southern University because I'm watching their performance, and they're playing their jams, and then I love the horns, and the horns are playing, bum, 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 and they break out into "I Want to Be Down" by Brandy.
Oh, wow.
I was like, man, you got to be kidding me. And to hear that, the roar of those horns and just the dancing, it is wonderful. Thank you to the HBCU bands. Thank you to the internet for letting us finally see these competitions and see these performances because they are very entertaining. And that's my last second shot.
All right. My last second shot is to a fanatic. I'm not going to call them a fan as we know it, because we're fans too. Well, a fanatic who ran out on the football field not too long ago, and he was hit by a player, and now he says he has a concussion. And I think he wants to sue for damages, running out on the field when you're not supposed to be running out on the field. And he has a concussion and other injuries. Good. Stop running out on the field and doing this in football games. Stop doing these protests and running out on a football field and trying to make a name for yourself. Good that you have a concussion. Maybe that will keep your narrow ass off a football field the next time you think about running out on a football field where you got 200 to 300 pound guys who can run faster and who can catch you and who can lay you out. Would you rather the police to beat you down or an NFL player to knock you down and you get a concussion? So I don't think this is a great case for him. We'll see. I'll keep up on the story. That's our show for this week. See you soon.